On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech, and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it. On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech, and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Let us put our hands together for Papa Wheeler!
Suicide bomber, bring it up to shout for me. I want them to roar, roar, boy, roar for me. Anything you want, you go get, boy. I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I did not necessary, boy. Fiscal lips and mercenary. Bring it up to show for me. I want it to roar, Roba me. Maintain your impulso. Total zombie and beater. Take it away. Local fans decreasing. By the numbers they keep dropping. Nobody don't shout no more like they used to shout before. Boy, these grunting fans they crumbling about promise songs. Fail on delivering. Boy, start song and can't finish it. It's standard English, singing stupidness, nonsense. Why don't you sing a song and again? Tell me what happened to me fair share when the money disappear. Ooh yeah, boy. Stuart, if it question here, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. Down the complex. Yes, if they no crown the king, boy, I do we like the doctor placing their campus suicide bomber, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roar for me. I'm gonna be mashing up the complex. Yes, if they no crown the king, the doctor placing your campus suicide bomber. Boy, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roar for me. Anything you want, you go get. Boy, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I didn't know necessary. Boy, we got lips of mercenary. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roar for me. Maintain your impulso. Total zombie and Peter. Boy, take it away. Airlines. See preacher, see taxi. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar for me. You don't know. You got to spend big money if you wanna win monarchy. I go got the diaspora. 420 in my corner, boy. Share the life, boy. Press like, subscribe, sharing. All here the diaspora's king. Your king go be knocking down your airport, knocking down hospital walls, boy. Training geothermal. Let the Jewish people sing the song. These Hebrew boys don't understand. Betty, that is out for me. I want to roar for me. I'm rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, do it like the doctor placing the campus suicide bomber. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roar for me. Anything you want, you go get. Yes, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba. Chutney a la bandera, ID no necessary. Fiscal lips are mercenary. Boy, bring it to the sound for me. I want it raw for me. Vente el impulso, todo son bienvenida. Take the momentum, everybody is welcome. Thank you.
Papa Wheeler.
All right, Papa Wheeler in the house. Good afternoon to each and every one of you. Let me try to get this monitor up so we can see who is in studio. There it goes. Good afternoon, each and every one of you, and thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturday schedule to be with us for another program on Target. And I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and in the studio with me is none other than the gentleman himself, Pastor Tulu Weeks, and stepped outside for a bit, but the man Henry Daniel is also here, and his brother Hastings had promised to join us at some point. I haven't seen him yet. Perhaps he changed his mind. Anyway, let me say good afternoon to all those who have joined the conversation. If you're on the YouTube, Twitch, but I'm not certain about YouTube anymore. That thing is so fickle. But if you're on Twitch or the FM dial or you're on Facebook, thank you all for joining us. Let me pay special attention to the top 5 persons who made podium today. And topping out number 1, displacing Jetty Taylor again, none other than LCQ, Loretta Clark Reilly up there in Florida. She is number 1. And my good friend over there in St. James, Charlene Jeffers is in the house. Thank you, Charlene. And another good friend who I met recently, Lorraine B. Richardson, she's in the house. Ivor Henry is 4th up there in the great state of Georgia. And Kitchen King over there in Oklahoma, I think he is, or Arizona, I can't remember now. I'm getting old. But he's here, number 5. And then we have Cecile Hobson. Good afternoon to you, Cecile. Hope all is well. All is well with you. Rhonda Brown, long time no see. I hope you're doing well. I know you've moved house to Florida, but we always be connected. And then we have my number 1 fan down there in St. Kitts, Daldria Doll Penny is in the house. Good afternoon, doll. And then over there in the great state of Texas, Tonya Matthew Powell, all kind of names she got. Tonya, good afternoon to you. Next in line for the CEO of Amazon.
She owned it.
All right. Elvis Leslie, good afternoon, Elvis. And I'm saying also good afternoon to Michelle Libert up there in Canada. I think that's where she is. Olivia David, always dancing the jig. Thank you, Olivia, for joining us today. And, of course, my number 1 fan in the great state of Virginia, IDF, Ingrid Daniel Farrell is in the house. And you know who Jesse W. will be? Initial Jesse W. will be? Webb, last name? Judy Cornelius Webb is in the house. Mm-hmm. Jesse W. Juicy W.
Or it's not Judy. No, she normally says to me Judy. She never tell me anything else about Juicy. Other than Judy. No, she never mentioned Juicy.
Lady Penny Librad, LPL. Lady Penny Librad is in the house. Good afternoon, lady. Muriel Brown is with us, and so is Norma Jean is with us. Paul Pemberton is here. Good afternoon to you, Paul. Mark present. And my good friend down there from Old Hospital Road, Bumpy Moving, is in the house. And then right after that, we have Adele McClendon. I met her during the Culturama, renewed our friendship. I met her husband too, very nice gentleman. About the same height as Adele, so she could push him around if she wants.
Well, what caused you to think that way? How that comes in?
I done some bath.
So bad ladies love to push men?
No, bad people don't play. So he better come right. Patrick Hanley, my good friend Globe, how are you? And then we have, who else we have? We have Pearl Francis said already. Patrick Hanley, I said just now, Globe. Evelyn is in the house. So is Gillian France and Wilma Johnson, Lionel Starboy Prentice, and Brenda Douglas. All those wonderful people are with us. And Lynette Farrell up there on top of Church Ground is with us. Jonathan Maynard all the way in Maynard, all the way in the UK is with us. Erica Swanston is with us. And my good friend Valerie Bourne is in the house over there in Jessop's, or I should say St. Thomas's. And Jonathan Pace is with us. And then we just got joined by your lovely daughter Lana Destiny. Cecil Douglas is with us. And
good afternoon, Lana.
Daddy, behave yourself today. That's what she's saying now.
She said what?
Daddy, behave yourself today. That's from the mouth of your daughter.
What?
Cecil
behaving?
Cecil Daniel is with us. Drexel Barton, good afternoon, Drexel. When your daughter tells you behave yourself, you know you're in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
You have not been good.
That's my harshest critic.
I'm telling you. Good afternoon to you too. How are you?
I'm feeling bad.
Okay, let me skip you then. Danny, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here. I just want to shout out the people in the diaspora in St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, all the OECS and the Caribbean, and our friends in the United States, in particular that warrior named Hazeline Claxton from Hazeline from Brownhill, fellas like Keith and
put your mic down a bit, please.
And all the other people up there in New York and right around the globe who are listening to us. Just to say, Kelly, as the exam results came out and you look at things and you begin to wonder, I see a nice quote here about reading. I wish our people would read some more so that we'd have a better government. I just want to put this quote here by Jim Rohn. It said, successful people have libraries, the rest have large big screen television sets.
Okay. Let me go back to two. Let me see if you catch yourself from what Lana said.
It should.
Lana, you really caused your father to rethink his whole life. While Tony is trying to compose himself, let me say good afternoon to Hazel Claxton and Kelston Swanston. And I like this one from Adele. Adele says, Lord, if you short my name, he would have been ATM. I like that.
Automatic teller machine?
Yeah. But Adele McClendon, Adele T. McClendon.
Oh! No,
I like that abbreviation.
Adele, that's not good because...
well, that will be her name from now.
No, because if you tell people, my name is ATD, people say, hey,
no.
Boy, people keep away from that.
Well, she chose it herself. She said ATM, so I am going with that.
No, she did not tell you to give it.
I did not derive it myself. She suggested it, and so I'm going with ATM.
You know, people, sometimes you see, you say hello to a woman and somebody call you and tell you, Daily, leave that lady, that's an ATM.
Well,
so Adele wouldn't
I think
that.
This is a different scenario because she's a happily married woman. I'm certain her husband wouldn't record her as being an ATM, or mother, Iona wouldn't record her as being an ATM. Maybe her kids, because all kids treat their parents like ATMs.
Or the wallets.
Oh, yes. So, anyway, let's get moving because we got a lot to cover today.
Let's get moving.
A lot.
Good afternoon, Lana. That is fine.
Better late than never.
The AC is not working in here, so if you see me sweating beads, then you know, and my shirt gets wet. It's not because of the little sarsaparilla I'm drinking. It's because the AC is not working properly, and so it's a bit warm in here. But we get through all right. And I got a call today from Officer Bissett of the police department, traffic, And you remember the conversation we had on the 27th of July?
Yes, with
the tint.
Right, yes.
Yes, he was kind enough to educate me today, and he read through the act, and he's actually sent me the act regarding vehicle usage and traffic and all that, which was quite nice of him. Mm-hmm. But he pointed out the fact that if you are indeed using curtains, remember we had a question about whether curtains would be considered tint. They will be considered tint. So
blocking it out.
You can't, please, if I was listening to Tulu until they said tint, curtains, don't get locked up for Tulu, eh? So
I was just suggesting
curtains are indeed covered, and you cannot use any material that would block the view from outside in, inside out. So the authorities can't see who is in the vehicle. It's illegal. All right. So that's update on that part.
So you don't have no privacy in your vehicle.
Basically, to a point, you could duck down behind the seat. Okay. I see you pondering that idea. All right. Let me say good afternoon to Gina Tyson down there in St. Croix. And, of course, Carmela Sutton. She just locked on. And Juliet Shiverton. Thank you all. All right. If you've been following what's happening in Antigua of late, there has been a real uptick in crime, especially gun-related crime. And so the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, has come out swinging. He ain't holding no prisoners. He ain't taking no prisoners. He is, getting out there. And he basically has declared war on gangs and the increasing crime rate. And in a kind of strange way, he's blaming in part the judiciary for not doing enough. All right? I want to read something to you for the record about what he said and the response of the Antigua and Barbuda Bar Association in response to what Prime Minister Gaston Brown had to say. And he says this: there are currently 474 repeat offenders who are roaming our streets with impunity. A significant number of them are on bail, armed and dangerous, pursuing a full-time career of crime and violence at the expense of our people. And this is part where it gets very interesting. If the judiciary continues to extend routine bail, short or soft sentences on those hardened criminals, then their influence in attracting others to a life of crime and violence will expand, and their numbers will continue to swell and soon exceed the aggregate number of law enforcement officers in our country. I beseech the regional judiciary to act urgently in realigning the sentencing guidelines and to administer stiffer penalties, including mandatory jail time for gun crimes. Your libertarian policies to protect the constitutional and human rights of hardened criminals is now a significant impediment to effective crime fighting. That were the fighting words of the Prime Minister Gaston Brown. Right? He came out swinging. Now the judiciary was not having any of it.
Of course not.
I thought I had screenshot that judicial response. Let me see if I have it here. So the judiciary responded. The Bar Association responded and said, let me see what they say here. I saw it here earlier today. While I look for that, gentlemen, what do you think of the Prime Minister's...
First of all, Kel, you mentioned something there about legislation. The legislation to deal with criminal behavior must be done. If you want to stiffer penalties, the stiffer penalties have to come from the legislature, from the government, and they have to be executed by the legal professionals.
But he did propose in Parliament 10-year mandatory.
And what?
For gun possession. So he's up in the ante with a number of years for gun possession.
Is it that there is a breakdown between it seems to be, he says 400 odd people are roaming the streets who have been repeat offenders and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And is it then that he's saying that the system is failing to hold those responsible for criminal activity?
That's what he's saying.
That's
basically
exactly what he's saying.
He's saying that the system is failing to hold people responsible for
the judiciary.
The judiciary.
This is a response from the Antigua and Barbuda Bar Association. The Antigua and Barbuda Bar Association would like to address what it sees as a troubling trend of members of the executive attacking judicial officers and the courts. A trend which ought not to continue, as it brings the administration of justice into disrepute and threatens the entire system of government. In a social media post recently, Prime Minister the Honorable Gaston Brown criticized the judges and magistrates of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court of Antigua and Barbuda for the approach to granting bail and sentencing in gun-related cases. The courts are bulwarks of our Constitution and laws, and public officials must be careful not to undermine public trust in the judiciary, fear of personal attacks, public backlash, and potential enforcement failures of decisions/judgments are consequences of public distrust and should not occur, as public officials have a responsibility to promote respect for the courts and judicial decisions. So basically what the Bar Association is saying, shut your mouth. You are causing us distress when you, as the chief executive, are coming out swinging against the magistrate and judges for what they're doing in upholding the law. The law speaks to granting bail. The law speaks to sentencing procedures. And by you coming out like this, you are really undermining our work.
Yeah, because...
So before you get to the discussion, I want to read to you Gaston's response to this now. Gaston responded. Gaston ain't taking last lick. Gaston responded. All right? Gaston says, look at this idiocy.
What?
Look at this idiocy. The judiciary is not beyond reproach.
Oh, well.
It's not beyond reproach. And he continues. We have one of the most significant national security challenges on our hands. Instead of joining the fight by encouraging stricter sentences and the ending of routine bail for gun crimes, these weak-kneed apologetics are seeking to score skewed intellectual legal points at the expense of the safety and security of our people. They are literally giving comfort to criminals. SMDBH. What does that stand for?
I don't know.
Somebody.
So shot you, blam mother dust mouth or something. I don't know. You're not nice. If you want respect from the people, institute stricter sentencing and work with law enforcement to deny bail when these criminals represent a threat to our society. The ugly truth offends, but I will always stand on the truth in defense of our nation and its people, a responsibility from which I shall not shrink, irrespective of the consequences. I took a parliamentary oath to speak without fear or favor. This is not autocratic leadership. It's fearless leadership, playing my part in soliciting the full support and commitment of the stakeholders against crime and violence. Sentencing guidelines must be realigned to deal with crime and violence, which is now a public health epidemic. I said what I said. Come for me.
But you see, I think part of the trouble here is that
get your thoughts.
No. This is fine. The court begins with evidence. So maybe the Prime Minister is thinking that there is evidence that these criminals have done X, Y, and Z. But the court can't function like that. The court has to function if you have evidence, deliver. Then, on the question of bail, the magistrates and the judges and so on who allow bail, they allow bail based on the civil rights of the people. They don't want to trample on the rights and so on.
He understands, he understands all that. What he's saying is they are too liberal in the approach to harden criminals. But that is do you agree or disagree?
No.
Know what? Do you agree with him that the courts are too liberal?
But I don't know because I don't have all the evidence. But what I'm saying is that the OECS court a few years ago, Ken, decided that they will do. They come down to a more restitutive form of justice and essentially make the punishment.
But what Gaston is arguing, they were wrong. That's what he's saying. He's saying the court now need to realign itself.
They need to go back up to the harder thing then.
To what the reality is on the ground.
So you change with the reality when there was a low crime rate in terms of criminality. Then you could have gone down a little bit on your sentencing. Now that criminality has become an epidemic, then you go back up on your sentencing. That is double standard. But you know what I find troubling? The double standard of some...
Before you get the carpet, before you get the Tulu, do you agree with the position taken by Prime Minister Gaston Brown?
Yes, to a point, yes. That people, you shouldn't have hardened criminal, triple offenders, multiple offenders running over the street on bail for the very same crime. You cannot be caught with using a gun, get bail, get caught again using gun, and get bail. And it should not happen. You should be put away. Okay? You should not be able to rape young children, get a couple of months in jail, come back out to rape again and go back for a couple of months and come out. The penalty should be so harsh that when you come back out the next time you're old and you can't do it again. If you just tap in them on the wrist, they're going to come out and do the thing over and over. The problem that I have with some of these leaders is that you have leaders who hide crime when it benefits them. And when it doesn't benefit them, you cry. I mean, when you have a leader saying, somebody forged my name to the tune of over $3 million of monies that pass through the customs and the warehouse and what's not. And I know who forged my name. But when you're told, well, the investigation is there, we want to find out who this individual, who forged your name, you're saying that I'm not going to give the police the information. And you hold on to that information. Up to today, you haven't given the police the information that you claim that you have. That somebody forged your name as a leader. So you hide that. Why you hid that? When you were the one that prosecuted. When you're saying that you have evidence of who committing crime, and authorities say, well, tell us who you know. Because they didn't know that I commit a crime. And he's saying that he knows who commits the crime, and he refused to tell the authorities who commit the crime, then tell it just as by. And when in a position of leadership, that you say criminality, you're saying that you have the hard evidence of the crime who commit the crime, and you're refusing to give the authority the information to prosecute the individual, you don't have the moral right to stand up and say anything to anybody.
All right.
But then right now what we have here, it's a war now between the judiciary and the Prime Minister. Because he hit them very low. I
believe there are some loopholes which is creating the problem. There must be, because lawyers are masters at exploiting these loopholes.
It's not the lawyers.
Gaston is right in thinking that why this thing need to stop. It needs to stop because you can't have this thing going on. So it's a matter for the two of them to work for the legislature and them to work it out.
Gaston, if I'm reading him correctly, Antigua last year had a total of three or four murders.
A small amount, yeah.
Very small.
Yeah.
2, I think it was 2.
Really?
This year, since August, they had 6 already.
I think they have 10 for the year.
10 for the year
so far.
Right? Up in July, had 6. They are now up to 10. So he's seeing the trajectory. And he's responding as a leader should. And say, listen, when things were quiet, when we didn't have all these larcenies and robberies and assaults and murders, we were willing to tolerate this as, part of life.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where stronger measures are needed.
Okay.
So what he's actually saying to the judiciary, step up. The same way the government is stepping up to put more police on the road, having more surveillance drones, having 2 new Coast Guard cutters to interdict, drugs and gun shipments to the country, and to have all these accoutrements added to the police force, to the security forces. Then isn't it incumbent for the court to catch up to that?
But what was the
He's saying that it's to me makes sense.
But that was a
to revisit those sentencing guidelines in line of what is happening not only in Antigua and Barbuda, but throughout
the OECS.
The OECS.
Yeah. What Gaston Brown did, he should have gone to whoever is the head of the Bar Association, have that discussion with them inside there.
No.
Not try to...
You don't know Gaston Brown.
Not try to...
No, you don't know Gaston Brown.
I know he's a Trump guy. I know him, man.
Gaston Brown is an in-your-face, fire on your tail part kind of leader. And he ain't going to take last week in nothing. And if he realizes that there is some inconsistency, believe me.
Listen, Gaston
but to his credit, he said he would dispatch his Minister of Justice to speak with the OECS High Court to have a conversation about this.
That's where it should have begun.
Listen.
But when the Bar Association hit back and said, listen, you're jeopardizing what we do and you have no right to be interfering.
Yeah.
What do? Sit there like a bump on a log and say nothing?
Well, the Constitution essentially separates the judiciary from the executive. But there must be some discussion with the OECS court to step up these sentences.
Of course, it can't be.
It has to be.
It can't be the thing it's a Nevis or Antigua. It has to be an OECS decision.
They have to be. So the next, to Miguel, this is cause for an urgent meeting of the heads of governments and with the judiciary, because in St. Kitts and Nevis we have 20-something murders, and we have a smaller population. So clearly. And in St. Lucia, everywhere in the Caribbean, we have a problem.
Gaston did not.
Hold on there. I want to hear from the people out there on Facebook, or if you want to call in. What is your position regarding this topic where Gaston Brown has called out the bar, not the bar itself, but the judiciary
in Antigua
and Barbuda, and by extension the OECS,
the entire OECS,
because they're the ones who set the tone and tenor. I have been to sentencing hearing here in Nevis with our resident judge here. And I keep referring to the deliberateness at which this process is done, right? And I applauded the deliberateness at which it's done. But in light of what Gaston now said,
done with that,
you may now need to revisit that sentencing guidelines to adjust to the reality we are now in.
But who set the guidelines? The bar? Who set the guidelines?
The heads of government.
But then it begins with Gaston, because if you're telling me 10 years for if you get caught with a gun, but in your same sentencing guidelines you tell me I have some grace period, so you start at 6. The magistrate or the judges use the discretion and say them start by 6 and start by 5.
Where you get that from?
I listened to a lawyer debating this thing out of Antigua, where they were talking about rape and life sentences and penalty for criminal thing. And he said, listen, even though the law states that this is the penalty up at top, you gave the judges a sentencing guideline to start at a low rate and come up. But they just say that if the sentencing guideline is 10 years of jail, It starts at 10 years of jail. Now tell me that you have a chance, your discretion to give me 5 and 6.
They are extenuating circumstances. There are reports from social welfare. There are reports from this and that.
Social inquiry.
Inquiry report, which would then guide the judge in making the decision.
For you to use a gun and kill somebody?
No. The judge, listen, we had a heinous murder here on Happy Hill Drive. The guy got 45 years, right? To me, 45 years for a crime like that, we needed to bring back the death penalty for something like that.
Yeah.
You shoot a man, he fell.
Hide it.
You walk upon him and shoot him in his head. You can't get worse than that.
No.
You had an incident in St. Kitts, a young fellow, 9 years old, shot in the head, execution style. His uncle shot in the head, execution style. And if you were to lay hands on that perpetrator, the only answer to that is the hangman. The only answer, in my view, is the hangman. You realize when we're growing up, murders were, people had disputes.
Right. Yes.
But then if you cross that line, that Rubicon, you're going to meet the hangman.
Okay, how is it?
Since they stopped hanging people,
people get brazen.
People get brazen.
And then you're not spending your rest of your life in jail under hard labor.
Right. But then the other thing, Kelly, is simple. Totally in relation to what you talk about the gun. When 40 years ago, Kelly, we didn't even know how a gun look. And we didn't even see the policemen with guns. So the penalties for gun in our law, if at all they were probably non-existent. But with this present culture, where we have so many gun crimes, we have to have a very, very, very tight and very hard and very serious approach where, like you're saying, brazen murder in Haide. The last person hanged in St. Kitts-Nevis is when?
But La Place maybe longer than that.
2008, 9, somewhere there. And how many murders we have had in broad daylight and so on and so on and so on. If the hangman noose is for persons who are going way above the realm of reasonableness. And I wonder, Kelly, if Prime Minister Gaston Brown will support He didn't.
That's the only thing he didn't call for.
I
don't know why he didn't call for
Why he
it.
didn't? Because
he probably forgot.
If you are saying repeat offenders walking around St. John's in Antigua and wherever else, and courts not doing anything about them, you step up the tempo with you, because it's not off the books in any of the OECS countries, you know.
Let us come close to home. Recently,
before we get to Tulu, forgive me for interrupting you.
Okay.
Let me get to some comments, because I did ask the comments regarding this matter, and there's some good comments here which I'll read to the public. Tonya Matthews says the Caribbean needs a three strike rule,
and you're out
when it comes to crime. The third time you get hit with the hardest penalty. And I think in the sentencing guidelines down here, that is already part of the matrix.
That's part of it.
Once you come before the judges here and you already have 2 strikes and you have not shown any interest in rehab and you're a repeat offender, believe me, they will lose you in jail. All right, so that's already, it's not called 3 strikes, but it is on the books. And
it informs the judgment.
Of course.
Yeah,
because the prosecutor will always bring to the judge's attention.
You see him there, a long time.
Right? He has no remorse, he has nothing.
Yeah,
all right? Tanya is reminding me, SMDA stands for shaking my damn head. I gotta remember that one day. Shaking my damn head. Okay. SMDA. Gaston getting jiggy, boy. All right.
Gaston always jiggy.
What else? You got a comment here from Tanya again. Simple fact is that all of them need to look at changing these outdated laws on the books and have some stiff penalties for these crimes. You see, Tanya, the problem is this.
You're moving away from that.
We have moved
away
seismically
from stiff penalties.
From those stiff penalties. We are adopting more the American style, every British style, European style of sentencing.
Yes.
All right.
But Kel, just one quick point. We are moving seismically away from harsher sentences,
and
but the criminals are moving
upwards
to harder criminals.
Yeah.
So the two things can't the two things need to align.
we must not move the ancient landmarks, says the Bible. That's what we have done.
Here's a Claxton is disagreeing with Tanya. She's saying 3 strike is too much. It should be 2.
Yeah, because suppose your first strike is to kill somebody.
Depends
That
on
won't be a strike.
depends on what the crime
That's
is.
not a strike. You're out.
Depends on what the crime is.
Here's Gigi Williams Keith saying, here's a Claxton, I think so too. 3 is too much.
3 is too much.
2 is enough. Once might be a mistake, or you had other choice. 2 means you're starting to get into formation to do it again. 2 is enough.
You're trying to get serious.
You're getting serious. Tanya is saying the laws need changing ASAP, as soon as possible.
True.
Yes, the times have changed, but still there are outdated law sentences on the books. SK needs 10 to 15 years mandatory gun sentencing and 5 years. That 5 year is not a reality. They recently changed the law, Tanya. You're no longer 5 years. I think Dr. Drew is now proposing 40 years.
This is where I was going when you
40 years.
Go ahead.
All right, for gun violence, for possession. And if you are I should say maximum 40 years for possession. And if you commit a crime with a weapon, it's 40 years plus. Right, so I'm not certain whether those laws have been enacted or gazetted. Are you going to see some real problems with that? Because when you have sentencing guidelines and you have this out of whack sentences for a crime like gun possession, and then somebody comes along with real assault with a cutlass or a big stone, I mean, how do you square the balance?
How do we put the sentencing for somebody like the murder here and up by the bakery there with the same guy?
Yeah.
Something like that. Shouldn't the law now say, look, straight up?
Sentencing guidelines.
That's what you're saying, right?
Sylvester Pimpleton is saying, I'm so proud of the Honorable Gaston Brown. He is protecting Antigua and Barbuda. Evan Jeffers saying, call them out, yes.
Oh, boy.
Them lawyers are too friendly with their clients. Everyone is a radical over here. Jetty Taylor is saying Gaston is wrong.
Yes.
Criticizing the judiciary as a government is wrong. Once you start eroding the judiciary, the citizens will start losing faith in the system.
True.
Okay, Jetty.
Agreed.
Gaston needs to change the law, he says. The killing of a 10-year-old girl playing with people's emotions. All right, what else we have here?
But sorry, Kel, but you said it's the same level of outrage in Nevis as there was in Antigua.
No.
Why? What
because they are new to it. They are new to the level of violence that we have been having for a long time.
No, the 9-year-old.
Oh.
And there was a 10-year-old in Antigua.
A 15-year-old was trapped to death.
Yeah, the whole community is coming down. And we have a little fella here, 9-year-old shot.
Because we have been desensitized.
Yep.
Come on, we have been desensitized for years now.
All right.
We grieve for a minute and say, oh, well, we move on to the next one.
It is unfortunate.
Gigi saying, Jetty Taylor, the way they chopped that 15-year-old girl shows there are some real wicked individuals walking around. Ingrid Daniel Farrell, they need to bring back the hangman for real. They say it's an inhumane act, but what is shooting a 9-year-old in the head? All right?
Isn't that an inhumane act too? And Tolo, you're going to come with the Bible that an eye for an eye is
no, the Bible.
The Old Testament.
Let's go Bible. When the Bible says an eye for an eye, it did not say that if you dig out my eyes, I have a right to dig out your eye. There is the law, and the law is there to enforce the law. And the law states, if I dig out your eye, the law, the judiciary should be the one that dictate that my eye dig out, not you take matters into your own hands.
No, that's your interpretation.
No, that's the biblical.
No,
I'm saying you don't have that right.
Hold on. Let me take on to this.
Let's go.
You go ahead.
You are interpreting the way you want to interpret it.
No, it's not my interpretation.
Whose interpretation?
The law was given.
No.
Wait.
It says an eye for an eye.
Let us go.
A tooth for a tooth.
The Old Testament says
right? And so if a man offends you by digging with your eye, you have a right to dig
No, that is not the biblical way. You give the leadership of the community the rules and the regulation. Not only that, it is a whole lot of rules for civic relationship.
Anyway,
come down the line. The judiciary has the right the mandate to pass the law. Okay, so if I dig out your eye, the judge should sentence my eyes to be dug out.
Okay, fine.
Okay, that's the judge duty. Not you take it and make it and dig out my eye.
Hold on. So if the judge doesn't do it, then
well, you can't do it.
Really?
No. You can't do it. You go along with what that's why we have the breakdown in our system. Okay, because people are taking matters into their own hands, and God never gave us the right to take matters into our own hands. There is justice, and there's a three-part justice system like we have it. We have the king, which will represent the what do you call that? The legislature.
So when
then you have the judiciary.
Hold on, I'm quite familiar with what you're saying.
Very good. It's biblical.
So when this edict came down that the firstborn child should be slaughtered for every family, who did the slaughtering?
Who did the slaughtering?
Yeah.
With the Roman soldiers them who come down. A man took it in his own hand and said, "Okay, the firstborn," and that came from the law, came down from the king. The judiciary passed it.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm telling you something. This country, right in Caribbean, the leaders them say all the time that Caribbean no make no gun, no bullet. But when you find a man with a gun, in license, you get it with it, and get it with a gun. You understand? Get it with everything. This going on and got to get our government come together to solve this problem. Me not think it here. Me the leader, and me can solve the problem. And me the leader. Me not have to go to nobody, no England to help nobody. If that means all independent. I'm supposed to bring up what we want to keep the country in order.
Caller, let me ask a question. Would you support the death penalty, reintroduction of the death penalty?
We support death penalty anytime.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, cool.
Kelly, do you not believe that based on the number of crimes in St. Kitts and Nevis and the murders and the kinds of fierce lack of concern for people, do you not believe that the majority of the people now support
I think the temperature is there
for the death penalty,
to
be used more regularly?
I think persons, including the government, are fearful of being blacklisted by UN organizations that are critical of death sentences. Mm-hmm. The Americans have outlawed it in several states. It's not a federal thing; it's a state thing. Oh. In Europe, they have totally banned it.
True.
In Africa and Asia, it's still on the books, quite for minor things.
South America.
All right. So, I fear that if we were to reinstate it, and I don't think we ever will again, given the temperature of the world moving toward more liberalism, I don't think that it will happen.
So then how are we going to deter crime? The Holness, Jamaica, he was on the record in saying that he's against the death penalty. But when somebody shot up a bus and killed two school children, 9 years, they were 9 years and 10 years, or 9 and 11, he said that there's some people in the society do not deserve to live. And so now he is now rethinking about there are some people in the society should be killed because they have no heart. So the ministers are fluctuating.
I can give you one guarantee, Tulu.
He's not going to do it?
I can give you one guarantee.
What it is?
He will never introduce legislation to reinforce that idea of death penalty. He will never do it.
So that is...
It's all talk.
So rather than him to introduce it, you unleash the security forces. And so when you go out there and meet Dr. Daly, then you commit a crime, you eliminate him.
Of course. I mean, it's a shoot-to-kill order. To bring them back to trial, to put them in jail, to feed them for 20, 30 years. What sense that makes?
So you're exacting the same death penalty through a different medium.
Of course.
Rather than hanging him, you say kill him, shoot him, still dead.
There are some people who believe that...
You heard the man say, you heard Prime Minister of Jamaica say, listen, I have met with the security forces, and they have their marching orders. Yes. What do you think the marching orders is?
To go negotiate.
Take no prisoners.
Negotiate.
So that is another way of executing the death penalty rather than going through the hangman noose.
Listen, Jamaica is well known for his extrajudicial killing. And man, you know his bad boys. You say run, and the guy started to run. You pop, you shoot him. He was trying to shoot me. I had to shoot him. Okay. I met a guy in Antigua from Jamaica when I was up there for a conference years ago. And I said, what are you doing in Antigua? He said, I escaped to Antigua because the police came, the army came looking for my brother. And they didn't care who in the house. They will light up the house. He escaped to the back. And straight to the airport, straight to Antigua. His brother wasn't so lucky. You understand? This is you heard the Prime Minister Holness say, I'm standing with my security forces.
He gave them a marching order.
Okay then.
But when the Jamaica Defence Force leaves up Park Camp, you think they come down to go negotiate with people? No. But Kel, let me ask this question. Should we think that if a man like the murder you're talking about, and where the guy Howell go hide there and kill somebody, is it not fair for the citizens to say, well, he has given up his right to live?
Of course.
By going high afternoon and
morning
cold blood and morning, whatever, and a 9-year-old, whatever, whoever does that, the citizens are basically saying, man, look.
Here's an interesting comment by Tonya. And Tonya is saying, look, all they have to do is ask Texas for some injections.
Or the lethal.
Yes. Some say hanging is cruel. Just bring it back. The thing about it is this.
Lethal injection.
If you're dead, you're dead.
Exactly.
When you hang, you shoot, you inject you, you're dead. This whole liberalism about give them an easy way to die. Brother, if you kill my mother, my brother, my sister, I want to kill myself. I gonna skin you myself. Inch by inch.
That's what they like to protect.
I'm gonna put hands on you. I'm gonna bang it bad little. I'm gonna put all your teeth, all your fingernail before I kill you.
That is, you know, when the Bible says eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, it puts a limit. You know why? Because some people do the exact same thing that you said there. You dig out my eye, I chop off your hand, I chop off your foot, I dig out your 2 eyes, listen, because when you are angry, you do this. So you must have some penalty. We come back to our 40 years, Dr. Daly, that the Prime Minister gave. He said that the maximum penalty is if you're caught with a gun. Look at the sentencing guidelines that we have in the Federation.
It doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. So the law that they pass
it's nonsensical
versus the sentencing guidelines doesn't match up. The same thing with Gaston in Antigua. If you want stiffer penalty, and you, the judiciary, has the right to change the sentencing guidelines, said, listen, 40 years if you're caught with a gun, 40 years mean 40 years. If you want to say have grace period, when you say, listen, okay, the sentencing guidelines start at 30. So you put the person off the street for a long time. You can't tell me 40 years and the sentencing guidelines is still down at 5 years and 6 years. Well, mostly the magistrate only between 5 and 10 years.
This is what Gaston is calling for. Exactly. A reconnection with
he need to do reality. But he need to do it. The legislature need to do it. Tell them this is where the sentencing guideline starts.
It can't start with just Antigua.
Antigua is an OECS
decision.
But Kel,
perhaps even CARICOM.
Yeah, but Kel, look at this. The number of murders we have had, the last hanging was 2008. Don't you think the citizens are saying, why these fellas?
We had a hanging in 2008?
I think that is what the last one was, 78. I'm corrected. And so you're talking about 17 years you haven't done this. And how many murders you have had per
too
year?
much to call.
All right.
Let's move on.
Well, lastly, the court gave a person a lifetime in prison, sentence you for the rest of your natural life in prison.
I don't know.
Haven't heard that in a umpteen years.
Because maybe there are no cases warrant that.
What?
I said maybe. I'm not there. I haven't killed anybody. Anyway, moving on. We have spent enough time on this matter because we got a lot more to go. We want to get into the national address by the Premier.
Oh, Jesus.
Forgive me, we have to play these things because people need to understand what's going on. All right? And I do apologize ahead of time. Let us take these here systematically.
You're going to give me in pieces and not the whole?
No, in pieces.
Pieces,
small
okay.
pieces.
Small pieces. All right.
All right, where do I begin here now? Top 3. Let's go.
The Prime Minister and Minister of National Security must extend his hand across the political aisle and seek consensus and active assistance from the opposition. As leader of the opposition and as Premier of Nevis, I and my team stand ready, willing, able, and eager to assist. But we cannot invite ourselves to the table. Only the government can ensure that all stakeholders are given a chance to lend their voices and ideas to a solution to this perennial problem of crime.
All right. Now, here it is. The Premier is saying he and his colleagues stand ready to have a sit-down with the Prime Minister regarding solving crime and criminality in the Federation and St. Kitts and Nevis. All right? He's extending his hand to the Prime Minister. All right? Now, here's my difficulty. He mentioned in the speech that he has spoken to the leadership of PAM.
Shani Gray.
He has spoken to the Prime Minister, but he has refused to have the same conversation with the leader of NRP and the leader of PLP, Dr. Harris.
Yeah.
So how can you be serious? How can you be genuinely serious about solving crime when you're leaving half of the conversation unsaid? And so you have to now look at this thing here in a holistic fashion. If you want all hands on deck, how you gonna leave out half the political parties? If you want total buy-in, then all heads have to get together and have a conversation. But before you guys jump in, okay, go ahead, because there's another two things.
Very simple.
Yeah.
I was in the government with the NRP with Mr. Perry. When there was a critical matter that we thought we needed to have the effort of the Prime Minister, we in the NRP arranged to have the meeting with the Prime Minister. One such matter, we had that matter on crime. Another matter was with the IMF and the white.
So what he's saying, he's waiting for the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Foolishness.
It's
foolishness, and also it is very, 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 very strange. If you have an all hands on deck, as I have said repeatedly on the platform, Kel, dance a yard before you dance abroad. Talk to Janice first.
No, it is strange that he has this philosophy, because when he wrote his 8.10 letter to Denzel Douglas, he did not wait for Denzel Douglas to call him to have a discussion on crime. He took the initiative and penned his letter to Denzel Douglas and put it out in the public that I did this to Denzel Douglas. But come back, because I heard you Thursday evening mention the leaving out of the NRP and the PLP leader. And while you were saying it, it slipped a little bit across the radar. I heard it, but I'm saying, I did mention to you that that's not true. But I listened to a program yesterday on another radio station. And when I heard the Premier of Nevis clearly state that he spoke with the opposition leader, the leader of the opposition in St. Kitts. He spoke with the Prime Minister. But no mention that he spoke with the leader of the NRP and the leader of PLP. I said, boy, Dr. Dilly is absolutely correct. This man is not serious. This man is double talking. Now, let us look at this. Let's go back, because history is important. When Joseph Parry administration, Hensel Daniel administration was in office, crime were around the place. We had the Delta Force. The Delta Force were coming to Nevis on weekends, just on weekends. The Premier of Nevis now had a field day in Lamblas in Paris and the NRP, saying that they brought back Army and Nevis and Simeon Daniel and Ever Stevens, they must be turning in their grave and what's not. He did not want them on the island of Nevis to help fight crime. Now here this double-talking individual, not only that he has an army base on the island, now that he's in government. When Perry was in government, he didn't want any. As soon as he got into office, he has an army base on the island. Now he knows that the importance that there is the army to support the police in fighting crime. But he didn't want those things to happen in Nevis while NRP was in government. This man is one of the biggest hypocrites you can find out, and he must be called out for this thing. What you call double talking?
Well, here's more. Here's more.
I am here talking about jobs, providing seed capital to start businesses, expunging criminal records to assist former offenders with job opportunities in the private sector, inviting and incentivizing the private sector to play its part in giving these young men and women a second chance, providing free training, especially in vocational skills, such as plumbing, air conditioning, electrical, auto mechanic, shade house agriculture.
You know, hold on.
Those things give me cold blood pressure.
Hold on.
Hold on. Let's hold on.
Hold on.
Let's hold on.
I know I am chomping at the bits.
No, not me.
Let's hold on.
Hold on. SMDH.
My daughter said I must behave myself.
We need to hold hands in the studio on Prefer Mark Brantley. I'm serious.
Pray
for him. Because I have never met a man so disingenuous in my life.
Change the word disingenuous. Dishonest.
Disingenuous, dishonest.
Yeah, carry dishonest.
He came into office in 2013 under the CCM banner. And one of the first moves they made, one of the first things they did.
Say it, repeat it.
They eliminated the overseas training for youth at risk.
Even on the island, not only overseas, the local one too.
Yeah. They eliminated those programs for our youth that were at risk of becoming antisocial.
Yes.
Becoming criminals. Becoming gang members. And the gentleman sitting to my left, Odidanyanwu, was the author of those programs. To make sure our youth got the kind of training that will put them on the path to self-employment, to entrepreneurship, to, just being good people in the society. And so Trinidad was sent to Trinidad to learn plumbing, AC, all those things he mentioned. Welding. All those things he mentioned. We have a history already that this is nothing new. They stopped it.
True.
In 2013, they came into power, and within months the program was dead.
Future were teaching electrical on the island, and they stopped that. Alex Clarkson were teaching plumbing on the island. They kill all of it.
Not only that, all of those youth in our schools who are struggling to catch up with their reading and their homework.
Yes.
The community centers was where the action was. Because this man again, Odidanyanwu, and this program had persons teaching after school classes to help reading recovery, to help with homework assistance, all these things to keep those youth focused like lasers. And this bad-minded, worthless man and his government say we ain't seen no utility in that. This wasting taxpayers' money.
Yeah, true.
The same man come back now and said this is one of his points of action. We now need to train our young people. We now need to reinstitute training for our young people. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. There's a demon inside this man. I'm convinced there's a demon and he needs an exorcist. Because it's not natural. 2013, 11 years later in 2024, full circle, he's now calling for training for our youth. But I guarantee you one thing. As I'm sitting here. He will not put a penny
in any of those
programs.
No, he's calling the Prime Minister, the federal government to do it.
So what are the NIA responsibilities? What is the NIA's responsibility to the people of Nevis?
To blame the federal government for everything that happens on Nevis. But as you talk about those programs, it just dawned upon me because Thursday we spoke about Michael, the welder.
Zip.
You know what I thought about as I sat here? My son is a well sought after plumber, technical guy. And you want to find leak in your house and thing and you can't find them, he will find them. He came out of this very same program, Hensley, under Alex Claxton. And now he is holding his own. I think he said to me yesterday that I have so much people calling that he's telling them, I'm tired, I have to take a break. This program helped my son. Okay? And there are other people whose children who benefited from this program. They need to lend their voices to this and condemn Mark Bantley with his hypocrisy and saying, listen, this program was there, my son benefited, but you prevented other person's children from benefiting.
13 years is a long time.
13 years, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Sorry, 11 years is a long time.
Sounds so good.
A whole generation of people.
And people are saying, oh, it sounds so, yes, he speaks good, but his words and his action does not mesh.
I want people to be sensible about this whole thing. All right? You need to be sensible about this thing. All right? And when you hear such, what you call
foolishness.
Well, it's not. What he said is not foolishness, but the double standard.
The phrase I like, Alan Powell used it. Word salad.
It's a word salad. Word salad.
Just trying words
yes.
inside. Mix it up. You know, because what he's saying could have saved a lot of heartache from our youth, from our parents, from our friends and neighbors, because so many persons lost that opportunity without government assistance and backing to get into technical training, to get into vocational training. You know, and to make bad matters worse, they would have built this $3.5 million complex up there at Gingerland, at the Gingerland Secondary School, with the idea of implementing TVET programs, technical training programs,
with the empty talk,
beauty salons for the ladies, and you know, fingernails and all kind of things, and AC and plumbing and all kind of things. Not a thing has been done in years.
Empty talk.
The building is simply a classroom. There is no activity up there that the building was designed for. None. And so when he's talking, you have to weigh him in the balance. You have to weigh him in the balance. Mr. Premier, where's the evidence? Where's the investment you speak about that we should have had to rescue these children from falling into the cracks?
There is something else that troubled me in that speech. He's talking about expunging the criminal records of some people, gave them a fresh start. Hensel Daniel was doing that very same thing. When he used to go down to the magistrate court and tell the magistrate, listen, this is a young one. We know this going on. But you put him down there in the jail with the hardened criminal for 6 months and he come out here more hardened. Release him to us, let us put him in a training program. A work program so he build some steam and build some pride and what's not. He condemned Hensley. I remember one time he referred to Hensley associating with criminals. You remember when that judge, they had somebody trying to rob a judge had come here? Hensley is associated with criminals and people are supposed to vote for him. No, he is now coming around 11 years later and saying that you must support the very same criminals to rehabilitate them. This is the same guy who supported paying criminals. Supported them. Paying criminals who misbehave rather than put them in jail and telling us if you want pay, you want to about you want in these programs, you must put work inside, you mustn't get it free. He was part of the government that introduced this scourge upon the country. And now he wants to break himself free and make people believe that he had nothing to do with it. He was part and parcel of this.
There are young people in Bath who approached me and told me in 2020 when I was campaigning that the Premier Brantley suggested to them that they be part of the Pay for Peace program. Even though these guys had no criminal intent or background or leaning or nothing like that. And he would make it possible for them to do that. These are what they told me.
But
right? trying to buy votes.
I was not there when he made a conversation with them. I can only report to what they told me he offered to do for them, to get them on the Pay for Peace program. All right?
And now he's saying that
it was a way to get votes.
It wasn't. No, you don't give them free money. Make them. They have to contribute something. Why didn't tell Timothy Harris that for 7 years he was in the government?
Let's go. You got one more. Please hold on. This is the last one. I promise you.
We introduce moral and ethical instruction in our schools, starting at preschool and continuing throughout our children's school life. This must be coupled with the reintroduction of youth groups in our schools, such as Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, Pathfinders, Cadet Corps. Our children's participation in youth groups should become a mandatory part of our curriculum. We must reintroduce an aggressive alternative pathway program. The new program, whether called Peace, Elevate, or by whatever name, must emphasize that those marginalized youth who genuinely wish to be productive citizens will be supported with jobs and economic opportunities.
Word salad. Now let's just go from the top of it. Reintroduce. Oh, let me play it.
Reintroduce moral and ethical instruction in our.
Let's stop there.
He needs the first class. And the thing about it, he has gone so far down that he'll have to be in a class 24 hours a day for the next 5 years, in able to develop any semblance of morals, ethics, civic responsibility.
The funny thing is, these guys are so far.
You're laughing. I see you all afternoon laughing because you're laughing at the foolishness.
These guys are so far removed from reality. They think people are not noticing. They don't think people are seeing how they have benefited illegally from the activities. You don't think people are measuring them. And so when you're talking about ethics and morality, these are the same people that said, if it's not in the Constitution, it is permissible.
Yes.
When the issue of double salary came up, they said, well, the Constitution doesn't prevent it. There's nothing in the Constitution that forbids it.
So where was the ethics?
Where was the ethics then?
Where was the morals?
Where was the morals?
Where was the civic responsibility?
Where was the civic responsibility? Nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. Gentlemen, just to say, you are not talking about the program that we stopped. Just to note that when we were in government, we introduced 2 programs to do exactly that. At the high school, and Mr. Parry was leading one which he began over in St. Combermere Primary School, to do that. The ones in the high school were called Nivision Pearls for the girls. So the high school teachers identified the girls which were slipping off track. And we had a 16-week program led by Halima Grisham, who led that along with Miss Maynard, to say to them, girls, man, look, you don't have to essentially to help you make good decisions, because they were 13, 14, 15, the time at which you can go off course. Then, you know what we did? The program was at the center, and then we provided refreshments for them, had the bus take them home after. We did the same things for the boys, called Positive Moves, where the boys would come and fellows talking and so on. And we had a set of our people in the ministry going to them, talking to them, all these values and so on. As soon as we left government, the whole damn thing mashed up.
Don't
come tell us.
He said we introduced, right? So he's acknowledging that there was a time when this program was there. What he needed to do, and to be man up, but he's not going to be decent. He said, listen, we made a fundamental mistake in putting an end to these programs, and so I am calling for the reintroduction, starting with me. And so therefore, somebody will have to go and teach him ethics, moral, civic responsibility, because he needed more than anybody else in the Federation.
No, but the part I like, which I find, I don't know, I shouldn't say I would like it, because
smiling all afternoon.
He's saying that introducing or reintroducing these organizations back into the school, youth groups, the boys brigades, youth scouts. I never knew they were part of any high school program.
Never. They were after school.
There was on church programs mostly,
and largely after school.
Let's go to the phone. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As far as I see, when I look up on politicians, it's only talk. So now we get all these kind of talk for investment. I hear Douglas talking about India with investment. We had about 15 factories up in industrial side. We have the factory running for one now. I'm going to catch you. Some kind of factory we got up there now. One out of all. So if you want to help your nation, you're not bringing nothing. You all the talking. Every time you hear politicians talk, they're jumping and talking about investment. They're not doing anything. I listen big lies. and some kind of on a program the week before. I couldn't get to call him, and I called him I get ring out. Talking about this $500. Big guy telling him about this $500 when no people listen. Where this last government take back from some people. I've been some kind of as an experienced politician and an oldest politician around here now was to tell us, let me stop it and we go ahead because people get this more supposed to get. Because they said 3,000 and then a household want to work in for that. No $500. And for all kind of people were getting who got money, who not got no money, and a lot of people get left off. Some kind of sales big rice that will give them money. Well, to bring back CNC, all I can know, and the government, and left out young people that not give them money. I'm going to tell you straight up, so. That not give them money.
Yep.
Then big money like better than that get. Left room for people who stop from school. School closed. You go home soon. Some going in, some coming out. What up there for them? But they couldn't do any work with some kind of them I do. And they think them I do. But the government for them there, they come make it party for labor up those all these people, they bring back all these people. Young people up and down jumping up in all kind of clothes, right? Going motorcade. You not see big shot them. But when everything starts, and them that come up front. When they come and meeting, they far up in the car. The people them on the street people them, and them no find the stage and I jump up. People are getting more advantage, man.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. So let me make this point here real quick. I was a member of the Boys Brigade.
We all were.
The church, Methodist Church.
Yes.
My youngest daughter, she's a member of the Girls Guides.
Girls Brigade?
Girls Brigade, sorry.
Yeah.
And she's choir. She's dance.
Yeah.
And so these were things that we had to do. It was mandatory, and I enjoyed that. But, you don't have much of those anymore. I mean, the Boys Brigade is now defunct. That's the Methodist Church thing. That's dead. The Scouts are still active.
Gingerland has
all right. And so he's trying to bring those back in the schools. They were never part of the school curriculum. Now, the school curriculum is packed to the brim with academia. You don't even have an ethics class anymore. You don't have what the class used to call it? Civics. You don't have that anymore.
It is necessary. They need to bring it back.
Right? You don't have that anymore. And so when he's talking about bringing back these things, where are you going to put them in the schedule? You have from morning to night of academic classes, 8-9 classes a day.
Yeah.
Where in the schedule are you going to fit it? Unless you consolidate some courses and have civics standard as a standalone or part of a social studies class, then it makes no sense. But we did civics in boys' school.
I think this way should be started.
It never continued to high school. No. It ended at boys' school.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the foundation was there already to catapult you into high school with those same values. And plus, you combine that with the other ancillary training you got with the Girls Guides, Boy Scouts, and Boys Brigade. And of course, very tough parents.
Yeah.
Made your life more, focused.
But Kel, that is essentially the point. The point you're making about the academic curriculum overtaking the school was essentially the same reason behind the positive move. The teachers help us to identify some children, and we got them into a program. I think it's 2 afternoons a week after school.
But you're talking about then. You know Dr. Hatch has a program over in St. James?
I know the homework assistance program. Yeah. But the homework assistance program, we did that after school, and we paid the teachers to do it. Right? The reading starts with us.
So the blueprint is already there.
It's there.
Yeah. All right.
It was tried, tested, and proven to be successful.
And Kel, most importantly for the Nevis people, we didn't have to ask anybody in St. Kitts, neither for the money, and we weren't getting any money from, what you call this thing, the CBI with the portion of millions. But we understood that the way you save a little small black country is to invest in these things.
Yes.
And nobody, in fact, we got requests, Kel, hear the difference. We got requests from members of the federal government to do the program in St. Kitts.
All right. Yeah. Moving on quickly because it's 25 parts.
One thing that is interesting, that the premier, who was a poster child of support from the government, NRP in particular, to make sure that he was well educated, well-rounded, get everything. He got it basically at the backs of the state. And then he came into a position now where he was in power to help others with the same privilege that he got to get him up the ladder. He pulled it off. When you stop reading Start With Us and Home Assistance Program, those were minor in comparison to what he got from a little boy till when he finished university, I was told.
So let me just say, Kel, you say you were a member of the Boys Brigade, and I was. I wonder if the Premier could tell us which group he was a member of.
That's right.
The Christopher Columbus Club.
That's 1492.
He wasn't around then.
No, I mean just saying, if you are the leader of the country, Kel, and you're telling people, you can go, Kel, as somebody as a lead man in a government and say, look, the Boys Brigade is good for you. Because I was there. I learned to do X. We went up to the mountain. We had war excursions and so on, and we learned to conduct ourselves in a decent and orderly manner. Tell them by the fact that you were. But he can't do that because he was never a member of anything in even.
That group, the Seventh-day Adventist group.
Pathfinders,
yes.
I mean, that group has
great, powerful group.
Powerful.
And they focus a lot on healthcare and so on.
Yeah, I like that group. The Boy Scout is, I mean, reminded here by Frederick is dead. Or Nevis.
Riviere was on this morning talking about it.
Yeah, that is dead.
But the Scouts used to go up, do a lot of things and so on.
Yeah, the Scout was big.
Big.
But that's dead.
So the Premier's request that these things need to be reintroduced. There's a merit to it, but it must be told that these things died under him, and some of them, he made it a decision, a calculated decision to kill them.
See, when you have a situation now where you are trying to address the crime and criminality from all angles, and the church groups are saying, listen, we have a difficulty raising the kind of funding to assist. Can you help?
And you said, me not got the money.
Are you going to say you don't got the money?
I can't help.
When civic organizations are saying, listen, we are interested in helping, but we don't have a home base. Can you help? Oh, we don't have the money. Charlestown, St. Paul's is the only parish without a community center.
Without a community center.
What is the minister for St. Paul's doing?
He promised one before he got in.
Buy some private land and build a center.
The land is there.
Buy private land and build a center.
Mr. Paris secured the land already, you know. The land was there secured.
But anyway.
But let me ask a question, Daly. What happened to the cadet corps on the island of Nevis?
I don't know.
I mean, when you're talking about this cadet corps,
all these things,
it's still somewhat disciplining my son.
I understand this, you know. All these organizations the Premier spoke about and others, to make them effective in today's world,
you have to put in some money.
You have to put in funding.
We did. We put the money.
You have to put in funding. You can't stand back and say they should do this.
No.
The federal government should fund it.
Really?
Because I remember one year we increased the budget for social services. I think at that time it was health, education, and then social services. And then he was on the program saying, "Oh, the government increased the budget, but nothing going to work." Nothing going to work. You had to increase the budget.
There's a comment here from Tanya which makes sense. Tanya says, and the thing is, if any of the of us were to approach the government and request and state that we want to restart these groups, they're going to say no because are you unhappy?
But he said everybody must come on board. We need all hands on deck. So if he says about all hands on deck, when Hensley got to him and said, listen, you say all hands on deck. Okay, I need this to start back the reading Start With Us or the homework assistance program. You're going to say what? You're not happy move on in front of me.
The Premier said recently, people need to volunteer more.
Did he?
People need to do more volunteer work.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I don't stand back and criticize, especially when it comes to culture. He's saying volunteerism is important. I agree, Mr. Premier. But here's the trouble. When you have the millions to give to your friends to do construction, I didn't hear you talk about volunteerism. When you have millions going around to cut down trees and all these things, I didn't hear you talk about volunteerism.
I hear 20
but when it comes to other things, people must volunteer. But when it comes to your friends who support your candidacy, who put up your posters, who put up your billboards, who put up your flyers, who transport your voters to the poll, hey, you get paid. But me now, poor manjack, poor donkey, I must work for free.
But even if you offer your assistance to them, they mark you off and turn you down because they brand you as an NRP, and so therefore what you have to say makes absolutely no sense.
So you're talking about them 5 contractors a year. There are 5 contractors in Nevis who make $20 million a year.
They've been making, I don't think it's per year. I think since I did some calculations, when you count out all the projects they've done, 5 contractors, major contractors, have made over $20 million.
$20 million
in the last few years.
In the last 4 years.
Divided among them.
$20 million.
5 contractors.
And just to say,
I mean, talking about grossing, we're talking about net profit.
And how many of those contractors
don't ask me that.
Aligned support the
all of them
appears to support
all of them? How do you think their money comes out of the treasury?
Appears to support the NRP.
Come on. You hired
moving on.
You hired contractors who you know was totally opposed to you, but you hired them because we are divisions.
All right, moving on.
That is for different.
Moving on. According to a well-placed source, almost 50% of the CCTV cameras on Nevis are not working.
That is clear.
You don't find it shocking?
Shocking.
That is clear.
That is
not surprised to me.
It's madness.
I called a friend of mine in St. Kitts who is in government, and I repeated this statistic, and he said to me, there are intermittent outages on St. Kitts, but we are constantly upgrading, expanding
of course.
The service. It's now in every village on St. Kitts. And so they have a blueprint as to when they're going to get to total coverage, a date and time when they're going to get to total coverage on St. Kitts. Here on Nevis, we are talking about cameras being permanently out, not intermittently, permanently out. We're talking about a situation where you don't know which cameras are working, which are not. So this sense of security you have, you think you have a camera outside your house or on the street by your business.
It's not working.
Chances are
it's not working.
It's not working.
Who's to be blamed?
Of course, who is to be blamed? The government is in charge of the
government. But you know the Nevis-Island administration headed by Matt Brandt is going to say that this is a national security issue and it is the federal government whose responsibility is to make it.
NIA pays the persons at the CCTV room. They're being paid by the NIA.
But they're not going to take the responsibility for
I should say underpaid by the NIA.
Underpaid. Your Holy Premier says that he is basically waiting for the Prime Minister to call him to discuss this matter when it comes to security. Security is St. Kitts and Nevis. Who is in charge of security? Prime Minister.
To just reach the point. The Premier does nothing and he does not know what to do. It's not only that he doesn't have a clue
what to do.
But how do you learn to do things in government? You have to learn to have done something before. You can't come to government as a blank cassette and think that you're going to go do work.
But you could come in and learn on the job. But the thing about he hasn't grown into the job.
Tulu, Danny, the last time you said blank cassette, people say you're old.
Yes. So
cassettes have been out of existence
for a long time.
Right.
Since I was a little boy.
Yes.
So, say a USB drive.
It's a blank USB drive.
The young people will understand that. They don't know what the cassette look like.
Oh, okay.
The younger people will understand that.
All right. No. And also, what's happening to the Premier is this: when he loses the debate and the discussion on development,
personal attack.
Take over.
Personal attack.
I had a conversation with another gentleman, a good friend of mine in the police force.
You have friends in the police force?
I got friends in the police force. High up too. Really? Not no little pian-mians, constables.
But you're a doctor. You're an official doctor, so therefore you should have people high up.
No, this is an honorable man I met years ago, and we have remained loosely in contact. But if I need something, I will call him and he will be honest with me. He's very honest and straightforward.
Okay.
I don't have liberty to call his name,
Don't.
of course. All right. But he laid on me some things I wasn't aware of regarding policing in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially on St. Kitts. All right. Did you know that there's a director of forensics on St. Kitts?
Yes.
Yeah, there should be a director.
For a full forensics lab.
Yes.
All right. They have capacity that we don't even realize they have. Mm-hmm. All right.
I don't know how they function.
They have that. All right. They have several units to deal with criminal activity or crime units. They have a crime scene management unit that comes and secures this crime scene to make sure there's no contamination of the scene and all of that.
They
have an Electronics Crimes Act where persons are using internet or their cell phones to commit crime. There's a unit to deal with that.
I'm sorry, Kel, and to back that, there is a legislation.
Let me finish the man.
No, I'm saying in also long time ago, to back that, they also have legislation where you can subpoena the...
Yeah, of course, that comes with it. There's a violence crime unit.
Yeah,
violent crime unit.
Yeah.
And one thing I was surprised of, I should have known though, but you know how, because of our population size, that we are perhaps one of the leading murder rates capital in the world. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yeah.
The rate is based on 100,000. Mm-hmm. We're only 50,000. So if you do the statistics, we are way up there.
I think the last thing I heard, we're about 10th.
All right, we're up there. Yeah. Top 10.
Yeah, top 10.
Here's the situation. And the police always get criticized because we live in a small bubble here where everybody knows everybody and we know whose crime got solved. But the solvability rate, you get this down, the solvability rate of crime in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is lower than in the US, Britain, Canada, all those countries that the Premier is asking support from. So you remember in his broadcast, you may not have heard the entire thing, but he was asking for intervention from RSS, he was asking intervention from Scotland Yard, Israel and all these places.
Jamaica.
The solvability rate of crimes on St. Kitts and Nevis is higher than those countries that he's begging help from. So who gonna help who? Who helping who?
Well, when he made reference to implement something that Jamaica implemented, I'm saying this guy is so out of touch. Because what Jamaica tried to implement failed miserably. That is why Holness came to the position that he came to and announced that, listen, security forces, I will take over. Because what he tried to do, all of these curfews and shutting down areas and shutting off areas, they failed.
Let me tell you something. All right, this national crime situation, persons have been on the airwaves. The Prime Minister had a workshop the other day with all sorts of stakeholders yesterday. Church groups, NGOs, what do you call them again?
And all of society.
All of society. And of course the criminals weren't there. You're having a conference about criminals and the criminals are not there.
The criminals there.
Right?
Listen, but don't be surprised that criminals were in the midst.
Well, we're talking a different thing.
Okay.
All right. There are three. Here's the dilemma. Crime has always been present. It's getting more heinous, more aggressive, more deadly. Crime has always been here. Minor, major, all of it has always been here in different amounts at different times. How do we arrest crime? How do we slow it down? How we can't stop it. How do we slow it down? There are three, in my view, demographics we got to deal with. Broad demographics. First demographic, the young people. How do we deter them from a life of crime or going in that direction of antisocial behavior, delinquency and those kind of things? And the things that Hens and them were doing, and the Premier is now alluding to, the after-school program, the reading recovery program, the training of adolescent and youth, who are at risk. That part We understand that part. That means you will slow the conveyor of new recruits into criminal activity. That's the first demographic. The second demographic are persons who are first-time offenders, persons who have a prison record for whatever it is. They go to prison, they're not hardened criminals. We're not talking about the hardened criminals. We talk about a demographic where, for lack of a better term, soft crimes. House breaking in, weed and all that kind of things like that. How do you deal with those people? We determine which way to go, if they're going to continue to crime or they're going to go into a program to rehabilitate themselves.
So this is rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation. Okay. And the third demographic are the hardened criminals. Those who are repeat offenders, those who are getting more and more recalcitrant in their behavior, more aggressive in their behavior. Persons who are part and parcel of gang life, gun culture, and can't see I don't want any way out of it. That is the demographic you're going to have the hardest time to deal with. And this is where Gaston Brown is coming in and saying, listen, we have this now. We have these hardened criminals, and we need a new approach, a harder approach. If it comes down to life sentences, if it comes down to longer prison sentences, whatever it is, we need a hardened approach to deal with that demographic. Because that one day is not willing to change. If the government is offering you free training, skills development, opportunities to earn a living, honest living, and you still choose to go, you're hardened. You're not going to want to change. How do we deal with you? And that is where all of society approach need to be focused. How does the community now rid itself of that scourge, of those persons who are unwilling to change? Unwilling. And so that approach there, in dissecting out, rather than treating everything as one big monolith, the different demographics and the program for each, a program for each.
Of course.
Right? And it makes sense.
That's a sensible thing to do, because
the last demographic that you call, you believe that the society should play a more proactive role in terms of what should be done with those kind of hardened people who has no intention to change and to be a menace on society. The society should be crying out more and asking the government to legislate laws to put away these people for, what do you call them, Queen's pleasure, as it were.
There's a comment here from Chevy's Caribbean Kitchen. And Chevy are trained.
Yeah, he was in community development.
Trained advisor in the community in these kind of things, and his expertise is well known. And he's saying, guys, you're setting up programs to talk about the young people, and the young person is involved. You mean in the workshop they had, the Prime Minister had, that's so backward, and he's right. You have set up this workshop to talk about crime and criminality, and the one demographic that's not included,
well, I suppose
is the youth.
And the one that
no, but it's a 90-day thing, so I figure there must be some. In reading this thing, there must be some focus on young people.
Well, I'm hoping. Let's hope. Let's hope.
It has to be.
But I think that's a good point.
For the launch.
No, but in relation to what Chevy said, very often people develop policies for people without involving the people.
Yeah.
That's not. But there must be that.
They call them armchair psychologists or psychiatrists and sociologists.
That's a desk captain.
They sit down there and make up these things. And then we have to deal with them.
But they will engage the young thing. But Kel, in relation to what you're saying about these three groups, that is essentially how you approach crime. You can't put everybody in the same bag. That is why I had a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussion with magistrates and so on, because I had determined that some of these fellows are for rehab. The little weed thing and so on. And then I also did not engage a lot with those who I thought the long arm of the law could deal with. But I remember, what's his name? He's dead now, Rogers. Rogers and I used to go and look for people who we heard were with the weed, and he would tell them, Rogers would say, look.
Give me the weed?
No, Rogers would say, no. Remember, Rogers would say, look, remember this thing here, you could go to prison for such and such a time. The moment them young fellas hear about prison, they say, okay. They tell them 6 more people who were involved. So we were able to go and fence around the people in terms of, get out of it rather than...
Gentlemen, we are approaching
quite and I have to run earlier.
Just before, where do you go? But we continue. Because I listened to a clip of the Prime Minister's address to the gathering that they convened yesterday, and I listened and I listened and I listened. I listened to the Premier, and I listened to most of the leaders them. And one of the things that is fundamentally missing out of this debate is something that me and you had, all of us had, that religious education from a child, that is gone through the door, nobody's calling about it. Now, where do we start that? Me and you had our foundation in Sunday school, our moral code was set there, our parents had that very same moral code, and they give it to us. We do not have that moral code now. We need to get back to that deep biblical religious foundation and building upon that.
I should be asking you this, but when last you went to church?
When last?
Yeah.
Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening.
Yeah. When last you went?
How many young people were there?
1, 2.
And Sunday, how much young people are there?
1, 2, 3, 4.
10.
No, we're not at 10. It didn't reach 10.
About 5.
About 5 or 6 young persons.
And how much of those parents who are there have young people at home?
I think all the parents that were there who had young people, their young people were there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for Sunday, I don't know of anybody who had their young people living with them.
All right.
And who they leave them home. But so then you're saying that we're going back to the home. The home is responsibility. And I believe in that. The home is responsible to make sure that their children get the same religious upbringing that we had, that we came up under.
I watch, when I go to church, I watch, and I see a lot of parents in there.
And the children are not there.
The children are not there with them.
Yeah.
And even some of those children who are there with their parents, they sit down during the service, when they're singing, they don't participate in no way.
Yeah.
They're physically there. And I was like, I couldn't get away with that.
No. You get a pinch, you get a scuff upside your head. Okay. You're here, Kelvin, stand up. You know?
Even, I mean, anyway, moving on.
That is something has moved away from our society. We need to get it back to help to shape the minds of the people down there at that young tender age to grow up into good citizens.
Well, I'll tell you something you might not like to hear, but you don't need religion to be good.
You know why you're good? You know why you didn't go down to that pathway of crime and criminality? It's because you had a foundation that was instilled in you.
I'm just telling you, you don't have to be religious to be good.
That is true.
Okay.
But
end the story right there.
You must have a good religious upbringing foundation. I want every child in the federation to get the same foundation that you had, the same religious foundation that you had. Father Kelvin Daly, he had a religious education.
I am not disputing anything.
He had to go to Sunday school. How many Sunday school you went to?
1.
Only 1 Sunday school you went to?
1.
Oh,
that was enough.
You got away. And how many youth fellowship you went to?
I never went to youth. Church on Sunday, Sunday school on Sunday.
And Sunday school on Sunday.
Boys Brigade.
Boys Brigade substitute for some of the others.
Yeah.
And all of them instill in you good, moral, ethical codes
you're assuming
that took you through life.
You're assuming.
And you did.
All right. Summary of the Premier's press conference, so you don't have to waste your time going.
He had one?
Yes, on Wednesday. Summary of his press conference, no updates on the hospital, no updates on the processing plant, no update on the airport, no update on fair share. The drill rig has broken down. Water was available 24/7 during C50, and the $5 million from the ROC Taiwan was spent on cultural summary of the Premier's press conference.
That's how they...
That was all to it. You want to go through it again?
No.
I'll go through it again.
For the listeners. Not
Summary of the Prime Minister's of the Premier's press conference. No updates on the hospital. No updates on the processing plant. No updates on the airport. No update on the fair share. This drill rig is reportedly broken down. The water, he said, was available 24/7 during Culturama. That there was no scheduling of water outages. And that the $5 million he got from Dr. Drew via the Taiwanese was all spent on C50 preparedness, meaning the village and the complex and the waterfront down there by the park at Pennies. So all your money go on. Okay, back to regular programming. MSR update.
I saw you post something today. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you.
The MSR update. MSR has now upped the ante by trying to now implement a class action lawsuit against the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension, all of the OECS countries that offer CBI.
Except Antigua.
All. He's hoping to drag everybody in.
I think anything he said he left out Antigua.
Believe me, it's not a matter of time.
Before he put in Antigua.
A class action lawsuit is exactly that. If you are aggrieved by any way, you can join this action lawsuit. All right? So he's calling on all parties who would have participated in any way with CBI. Whether you're an agent, whether you're a bank, whether you're a local person, local investor. He is offering now you to join a class action lawsuit against your own government. That is how far he wants to take it.
So he wants you to join him?
And he's hoping to get 1,000 signatures of persons who want to join, and so in so doing bankrupt these islands here. All right?
CBI program.
This is the wish of Philip Martinez, the investor of MSR. And so what he's trying to do is to use the rest of the OECS countries that have CBI and have a CBI agreement to keep prices a certain way. A whole series of agreements they had nailed out, agreed to on St. Kitts, agreement between parties. About 3 months ago at Marriott's, convened by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Drew. They had an agreement between parties where each agreed not to go below a certain amount. I think the only party at the time did not sign was, if I'm not mistaken, either Grenada or St. Lucia. I have to go back to my notes to remember which one of those two. But Antigua signed, St. Kitts and Nevis signed, Dominica signed. And either St. Lucia or Grenada did not sign at the time. I don't have to sign since. I think it's St. Lucia.
St. Vincent doesn't have a program.
No, St. Vincent doesn't have a program. So what he's trying to do is force now those providers within the OECS to put pressure on the Drew administration to settle. By inviting a class action lawsuit is one more nail to drive in the cross. And so he is using every leverage. Thank you, Mark Brantley, by the way. Thank you very much.
I'm happy that you came to that point, because when I listened to an interview that he had, the last interview that he had, what I gathered from him is that what gave him the emphasis, that driving force to go after the CBI program, is a statement, because he told the reporter to play it, that was made by Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis, that the passport was undersold and using the reference of shortcake money. That is his whole building block.
Of course.
For going after everybody.
Brantley will be and has to be, if this thing evolves into a court case, has to be a material witness.
But he's a foundation from what I got from Martinez.
And you see those 2 trips he made, those personal trips he made to the States. People are suspecting he went to give a deposition. People are suspecting that. I don't know.
No.
Right? Regarding this matter, right? Your daughter here, Lana, is giving some information. She said, yes, St. Lucia did not sign. It was St. Lucia did not sign.
Okay.
So thank you, Alana, for that. So what Martin is actually doing is trying to really blackmail the government into submission.
But he's saying that he does not want any money from the government. He want the money from the those who benefited, those people, the crop dealers inside there. I listen to him. But you know, the Premier of Nevis, in that same interview recording that Martinez played, when I listened to it, something came back to me and said, the Premier gave the impression in the interview that the Team Harris, Team Unity government was brought down. That's how I got it. Because of this CBI issue and the corruption that was taking place inside here. No, that is not impression, because just before the government came down in 2021 budget, he lauded Timothy Harris as the Minister of Finance. He lauded Harris as a genius, that he managed the affairs of the Federation well. And so coming later on and said that he did what he had to do to give the impression that Harris' administration was so corrupt with the CBI program, and so therefore basically he helped to bring the administration to an end, had nothing to do with it.
Agreed.
The fact is, whatever Martinez is doing and is hell-bent, as far as I'm concerned, to kill the CBI programs in the Federation.
And kill us in return.
And kill us in return. I sat down and listened and said, something said to me, I wonder if Martinez was a mold planted by the US and the European who really wanted, you know, they were after our CBI. And he was the mold that they got come through here, knowing that the Premier of Nevis is fickle and maybe open to all sort of stuff. Maybe. That just came to my mind. And so he's a mold that came in. Because they say you have to use a scamp to catch scamps.
Takes a cook to
take a cook to catch a cook. And that is what came to me when I listened to that interview. But the bottom line is that I got, whatever is taking place with our CBI program, based on what Martinez says, the Premier of Nevis, and they call him name, the Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, interview, said the passports was being sold. He's the one to allude to corruption.
But we all heard it ourselves.
So I want the people of the world to hear.
We heard it ourselves.
That he is the building block for this attack on us. And I am not saying that corruption didn't take place with Galaxy and whoever there. I'm not saying that it hasn't taken place. And if corruption was taking place, then those who was involved in the corruption should be made to pay for their corruption. But to use that to destroy, after he would have said to Patches, when Patches alluded to it, Patches, keep your mouth shut. You mash up the thing, man. We are dependent upon this thing. So Patches shut his mouth, but then he spoke.
Almost 60% of the budget on St. Kitts is directly attributable to CBI receipts. So when you sign off as the former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Chastney, is interested in doing, encouraging persons to bring down his own government.
Chastney want the government come down.
That's treasonous. The same behavior the Premier is engaging in by putting out to the world that indeed he was part of a government that was corrupt.
He said he did not know.
That he was part and parcel of a cabinet that made decisions to reduce the price or accept lower than normal prices.
He did not know.
He knew, because he said he was there and they were being sold less than black pudding. They were sold for sugar cake.
But he alluded to the prison thing and said that the prison thing is the crux of the matter.
Listen.
Basically, but he said he knew nothing about it.
He can, then how can you testify on a radio program that passports were being sold like sugar cake?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Very good question.
Moving on. Last thing on the agenda, because it's 1 minute to the hour of 3, I promised you every week we'll bring our expose on the assets owned and the net worth of our ministers of government. Today is Eric Evelyn, the Deputy Prime Minister. Deputy Premier, of Nevis. And I've known him for a long time. He has suddenly become very rich. All right? When I was to examine all he owns several properties. I think he owned, even before he became a minister, he owned properties. And since he became minister, I understand, don't hold me to this, but I understand he owned several more. And his paycheck, presently, his base salary is $160,770 per year. And this does not include his federal stipend, all right? And his per diems, and his allowances. This was base salary. So he's walking home with over $200,000 in cash every year. Since 2015. When he became a minister in 2017, and then he was a federal minister in 2015, I believe. No, 2017. Yes, 2017.
2017.
Yeah. So he has been taking home a bundle of cash. And he owns a business, and so
he has a business now.
He has a business.
What's the name of the business?
It's a horticultural supply business. You didn't know that?
No, I don't know that he wasn't involved in the business.
All right, so he
had the business before he got in government.
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
But he has. I understand he has blossomed.
Okay. it has blossomed.
And so his net worth in cash and assets is about $3.3 million.
Okay. How much of that you'd have estimated that he had before he got into?
Not this much.
No, it's not this much. you think he had a million in net worth?
I doubt that very much. Listen, this fellow look so we gotta be careful.
No, that's why I'm asking the question. No, we are not alleging anything. We are just asking.
I didn't say he stole it.
No.
I'm just saying he's acquired
wealth. Yes.
He's acquired wealth, substantial wealth.
Yeah.
So next week we'll do another one in our series to show how people have, instead of enriching the community which they serve, they enrich themselves. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I wish man that I know number 3 too now. About the wish man think it and Navy. Sucking the blood of the poor people then. And what the people them forgive them and next door. You understand?
Okay.
So we come campaign time and that they're going to be saying. You understand? They got rich man down here too.
Okay.
That can't walk cover down because that's what the Prime Minister said in the movies. Like the movies, people going to talk.
All right.
But we don't hear.
Okay.
They got business. All right. We don't put nobody who got business. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
No, Dr. Daly, as you mentioned last week that you were going to do this critique of the assets of the ministers of government, and you sent me to think. So I went back into the scripture. You know the way I'm going to go. Solomon, I like to quote him. Solomon associate crime and injustice in the community from the top leadership of the country, and he said they milk the country for their own personal benefit. And this is in line with what Solomon says, that these persons in government, not only here, but it seems as if that in this region, that these guys enter into politics with one sole purpose in mind, to enrich themselves, not to look after the interests of the people. Because we cannot see nothing in Nevis that these ministers are doing that is really benefiting the people of Nevis, that enhance the economic life of Nevis, the health of the people of Nevis, the education of the people of Nevis. So what are they getting all of this money for? Because what? When they were on the road, they told us that they're going to want their 2 salary, they're going to want every pay. They didn't tell us what they're going to do for us as a country. their main thesis was pay, 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 and I want every cent. And this is what taking place. They're milking the country for their own personal benefit.
All right. Folks, that brings us to the end of our program today. I hope you were edified. I hope you were made a little bit more aware of what's happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and especially here in Nevis, and to remind you to hold your politicians to account, and that, try to decipher through the word salad you get from the Premier. He likes to just throw all of the words together and have no meaning in reality, because he doesn't mean any of it. He doesn't trust it. He doesn't believe in it. He just simply throws it out there because he feels he has to continue to deceive people. And so we will continue our partnership of educating each other. Next week we will continue. The week after that we'll continue.
Lord's willing.
We will continue to shine the bright light of scrutiny on the activities of this government, which in my view is a criminal enterprise. And they have yet to prove different. They act in absolute disregard for the laws of the country. They act exclusively to enrich themselves, and we have to bring an end to it. All right? Elections can be called at any time, so make sure your voters' cards are in order. Make sure you're willing to travel at a moment's notice. We can't continue along this line for another term.
If you have somebody who is 18 years old or you yourself is 18 years old or older, please go and register to vote.
See you next week, Saturday, same time, same station. God bless and be safe for the rest of the weekend. All right, we're out of here.